representation in media. So something that big that just came out, right? Which I don't know if you got obsessed with it, but my wife's kind of tired of me singing songs from Hamilton and putting them on. But again, that's talking about representation, right? Because there's a big thing with representation there. Obviously, it's every male part, if I'm not mistaken, minus King George, is played by a minority, right? Hamilton's played
every
by
American part, right? So King George is played by
yeah, but Lafayette is played by David Diggs too, and he's French.
Oh yeah, but you're fighting for the Union. I don't. Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
So that's but like you said, but yeah, that is probably the reason. Like they kind of did that with King George, but even then, King George is being played by an American, right? So, but anyway, yeah. So one thing with Hamilton, right? Like, so I guess if we want to, we can go into like maybe the fact that it kind of, I wouldn't say sugarcoats history. Does it?
Well,
like, because I think the question that we posed was, does it devalue the darkness of history while simultaneously advancing opportunities?
That's a really good question. I wonder who said that. No, I think there is no form of popular entertainment that can accurately depict everything that happens in all its rawness while still maintaining its ability to entertain. Like the story of the Civil War and everything that happened in Hamilton, post that, I think spans 30 plus years, if not 40 years. Sorry, that's the Civil War. I meant the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, I know.
Spans about
that musical's coming later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wonder who's going to write that one. But it spans about 40 years. And in order to really drill into all of that, you need more than a 2 hour, 40-minute musical, right?
Yeah.
This is more of look, let's just teach them basic history while telling it in a uniquely American form of music, which is hip hop. People think the American form of music, they might think bluegrass, they might think country. All of that is true, but hip hop is America too. It is the culmination of America's immigrant experience. It's the biggest and best in hip hop are Black people who were brought over on slave ships. There's Hispanic immigrants, Fat Joe, Big Pun, those guys. The biggest producer is DJ Khaled, who is an immigrant from the Middle East. So hip hop is that melting pot. Why not use that melting pot to tell their story? Now, of course, you're gonna maybe shade away some really important things about, George Washington's slave ownership and all that stuff. Even though, if you really dissect it, they do kind of touch on those things. But at the end of the day, you have to hit that balance, right, between enjoyment and complete factualization, if that's the word.
Well, yeah, because I remember that. So Leslie Odom, the one that did who plays Aaron Burr, he said that before he joined the play, he went and watched the play, I guess, off Broadway, because I don't know how Broadway works. I don't know the price tickets. They say if you ask the ticket prices for Broadway, that means you can't afford Broadway, because apparently, that's so. I was like, I was never. And this is the one thing that I would like to mention that Disney Plus kind of helped. This is a play that I probably would never have seen, unless I go see it like somewhere else. I would have never seen it in this form, because I never would have gone to Broadway.
And I want to go one step further. It's a play that I probably never would have seen, but it's a play that needs to be seen. I think it's a really important work of art, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, and it sparked my interest. Like I said, I read a lot, so actually, I went to the Goodwill a while ago, and actually, I ended up seeing a bunch of different books on the founding fathers and Alexander Hamilton, and Jefferson and all that stuff. So I picked a bunch of those. So it helps pique your interest, I think, a lot of times. And a lot of people are researching Hamilton. That's actually what Lin-Manuel said one time. He's like, just so many people are starting to research Hamilton that weren't researching him before. Because when you thought about the founding fathers, how often do people really think of Alexander Hamilton? I mean, even though he's on the $20 bill, $10 bill, like you're not really thinking about him like you would think of George Washington, Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's kind of like, it kind of piqued your interest. So for history buffs, I think this is something that they should definitely embrace. But I was gonna say Leslie Odom, where he was talking about, he said that before he got on the show, on the play, he went to go see it, and I believe it was Lin-Manuel. It might have been David Dix. So I forgot who he said was in there. So it was one of the other original cast, right? And he said that he got a sense of like amazing, like just something that he felt that night, because when they were singing what's the song, tonight they'll remember us, I forget how it goes.
I know the one you're talking about.
Give up to freedom. Yeah. That one. So hopefully people know.
Please don't stop. Continue.
Huh?
I say please don't stop. Please continue singing.
No, that's that. Then we're definitely not going to get any subscribers. But he was talking about when that happened, he felt some type of way, because that was the first time he had ever seen 4 men of color talking about freedom on stage, right? And yeah, even though the characters themselves in real life, they probably, well, maybe one of them was, right, because he wanted to have a whole black battalion. But the other 3 weren't probably not really thinking about us. But when you have 4 men of color on stage talking about freedom, it just makes you feel some type. Because Lin-Manuel is Puerto Rican, but I get a bit of a like, yo, if I were ever to go out for this play, it's not far-fetched for me to go out for Hamilton, right? But any other play, I'm probably not going to read for Julius Caesar if I were trying to do Julius Caesar. You know what I mean? Like, because that's generally not a role that I would get. But Hamilton, it's a certain niche that they included in it because it's hip hop, and just I guess the way that he wanted to represent it, it just kind of allowed for representation. So now, you know, I have, and one important thing about representation that I definitely want to mention is the importance of representation when it comes to my children. Because going back to the superhero movies, remember we talked about how it kind of felt forced when Spider-Man tells, Captain Marvel, how are you going to get through this alone? And then you're like, I'm not alone. And then like a bunch of all the women characters come. And although me and my friends say, yeah, it doesn't flow as well as in regards to the way a movie would normally flow, but my daughter's going to get to see that. She's going to get to grow. I'm going to get to pop the movie in one day, because right now she's only 3, so she's not really paying attention to that, right? Peppa Pig is her representation. But she's going to get to see that. She's going to get to see that. She's going to have a pick of all these women characters that she can be a superhero with. Back in the day, it was only Wonder Woman probably that they could pick from, or Catwoman, Yeah,
well, I mean, when she's of that age, when she's going to be watching these movies, yeah, she's gonna have her pick of the litter. Like it's gonna be the norm. Yeah. And you mentioned that it did seem kind of ham-fisted, if you will, how they just kind of like put that scene in there. But then again, that was that third act where they were literally trying to make sure everyone got their due, in this massive Avengers movie. And to be honest, it didn't make sense because Captain Marvel didn't need all of it. We saw her just dive through a ship.
That's just your nerd speaking right now, though.
Right. She didn't need all that. But when it did happen in the theater, I was like, I clapped. I was like, that's good. So yeah.
I still think that the better one is in the other one in that's Endgame, in Infinity Wars, where what's it called?
Black Widow, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, and Okoye.
Yeah, where the what's the woman villain's name? I forgot her name.
Okoye. Oh,
no, the woman villain.
Proxima.
Yeah, her. where she, what's it called, says you're alone, and she's like, she's not alone, and then it's like them three, and then they whoop her ass. So that I like that scene in regards to the way it flows better. To me, I actually went like, oh shit, hell yeah! Like when I saw that, my wife.
You know what I just realized? That might have been kind of. I mean, it was definitely a callback to that scene, but maybe that was like in honor of Black Widow, who wasn't there to have back.
Oh, gotcha.
Like,
yeah, that
like
might have or a
before.
tease, or I think it was more of a tease. It was more like this is just three of them. Now imagine all of them coming together, But yeah, so actually, look, women representation can actually lead us into our next section, right? So I mean, unless there's something else you want to talk about representation in the media right now.
No, I think you covered it.